Your guiding light is all I know. Through wood and steel, through fire and lace, I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Is to a throig arcane. You laid the path before me. You guided every step. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time it's sore? We'll build the land, our hearts within. From dawn till dusk, I work, I strive. With your blessing, I'll survive. The loom, the forge, the sword, the grain in your name, I rise again. Got Bua, got Tolan, got Trio. In you lies strength, in you lies skill. Each victory, each talent, each trial. No task too great, no skill too small. Your gifts, dear goddess, guide us all. Into force. Without your light, we have no guide, but with your hand, our place abides. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time it's sore? The fiery undear, our greatest deed. By the grace of the goddess we are free. We'll build the land, our hearts within. I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Blessed by her grace, forever, forever.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Pax Dei, The Search for Steel. This is episode 112, Discipline versus Motivation, because it's linked to all the other conversations we've had this week. And tonight we're going after some pure iron ore. So let's set up our character. This is Empire, my avatar, who is almost a master at everything. Not, I'm trying. All right, so we got lots of different stuff. I can't remember what I'm wearing. I think it's all this stuff. This is all my armor. My good armor. All right. But I don't have much magic with stuff. That's okay, though. And we'll throw all that back in there. Anyway, we've been talking about different types of honor, courage, commitment, virtue, the whole 9 yards, how to craft a society. Yesterday, we talked a little bit more about the different things that actually create. What was it yesterday? I'm gonna have to check. It was the power of rituals in leadership and life. So now we're bringing it back into the discipline and motivation, because rituals are great, right? And we talked a lot about how we do that. But how do you unlock the power of rituals, right? Rituals are the basic form of what we're talking about as far as the social change, because one of the things that we need to do as people, individuals, is we need to craft certain aspects of the actual or unlock them. Let me go. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we're buckling in for a full-on, no holds barred, as long as we can go, deep dive into a topic that's been really rattling around in my head like a loose bolt in a spaceship, as you can tell by my discombobulated introduction. So, discipline versus motivation in the wild, incredible, and sometimes downright mind-boggling power of rituals across time. So this isn't a quick sprint around the block. This is a marathon. It's a journey that's going to take us through dusty scrolls of history, the buzzing circuits of brain science, and the messy corners of our personal stories, and some unexpected twists that'll have you leaning in and thinking, wait, what? Really? So grab a coffee. Well, if it's late, maybe a tea, maybe even a sandwich. Heck, make it a full picnic. Chips and a cookie if you're feeling indulgent. Or maybe a charcuterie board, if you will. Settle into your favorite chair, because we're about to unpack something, and you can watch the game unfold since we're going into the old forest today. And we're really gonna unpack something that's going to stretch your mind, spark your curiosity, I think, and maybe even flip the script on how you tackled daily grind. Let's set the stage, because every story needs a good starting point, right? After we grab a few more weapons, since we're going pretty far south today, southeast, as a matter of fact. And I need my weapons that are really good, because we're going to be fighting things that aren't exactly the most or the easiest to deal with. We will need our iron pickaxes, though, our wrought iron pickaxes, so we'll take 2 of those. I think we should have enough weapons and armor to go down there. Oh, wait, I know what I did wrong. I need a longbow. All right, let's go fix that real quick. As you know, Emphyr, if this is the first time that you've been in the game, you prepare all your weapons and armor before you go. And kind of like a ritual that we're going to talk about tonight. Because each piece of equipment is it's vital to your survival down in the old forest. What's this? Steel arrows. Nah, I don't need steel arrows just yet. Let's just take our wrought iron arrows. Okay. Let's make sure I have enough food. Food gives you hit points and stamina. So it's essential that we do this. And I need the syrups. Oh, and you change your spells. So this spell should be in one of my shortcut buttons on my mouse. See, pro tips already. We are really making it fierce. I have a feeling I'm going to, when I do this, I'm going to be traveling for a while, so I'm going to be eating these one... There we go. Bear stew. I won't need that much, but once I start on my journey, it's going to take a while. Looks like I have plenty of potions. And we're off. I'll be running the entire time, and I will not be sprinting. There we go. That's why I got the one. Because I want to start off with all 20. It seems like they changed something, but I'm looking at the early access 4509.135.178, and that's exactly where it should be. They haven't made any changes. Okay. So as we start heading down here, let's continue. Picture this. December 31st. The clocks are ticking down to midnight. You're standing there. Maybe a glass of champagne bubbling in your hand, or a mug of hot cocoa steaming up your glasses. The feeling that the electric buzz humming through the air like a live wire. The New Year's resolutions are flowing like a river through the spring rain. Maybe it's finally, making that gym membership worth a monthly fee. Shedding those holiday pounds that snuck up on you uninvited. Or writing that novel that's been whispering in your ear ever since you read The Great Gatsby in high school, right? Perhaps you're dreaming of picking up a guitar, strumming your way to rock star status in your garage, or learning French so you can order croissants in Paris without pointing like a lost tourist. You're hyped. You're ready. You're standing there as the ball drops. 10, 9, 8, 7. You're thinking, this is it. This is my year, my moment. It's my time to shine. Well, that, my friends, is motivation. That's the spark, the jolt of excitement. That pure, unfiltered energy that propels you out of bed on January 1st. Ready to conquer the world like a superhero, bursting out from a comic book page. Cape flapping in the wind. It's powerful stuff. Gets your heart racing, your palms sweaty, your feet itching to hit the ground running. Your brain buzzing with possibilities. But here's the cold, hard truth. And I know you've felt this sting because we're all human in this messy boat together, and I felt it as well. Fast forward a few weeks, say mid-February, maybe early March, if you got some extra grit in your tank. The gym's almost a ghost town, except for the diehards in their sweat-stained tank tops, pumping iron like it's their religion. Your novel's still a blank page on your laptop. You're staring at it like an accusatory ghost, daring you to type another single word. And that guitar, where is it? It's sitting in the corner of your living room collecting dust, bunnies, and silently judging you every time you shuffle past it. You look at it with a guilty glance, promising, I'll get to it tomorrow. Well, what happened? Where'd that fire go? Motivation is that slippery, fickle little devil packed its bags and hit the road faster than a teenager sneaking out after curfew. It's like a summer fling, hot and heavy at first. All passion and starry-eyed promises dazzling you with its charm. But when the tough gets going, the alarm clock starts blaring and the excuses start piling up. It's nowhere to be found, leaving you stranded, half empty, with a half empty tank, I should say. A long, winding road ahead. And that's where discipline steps into the spotlight. I'm trying to not to fall down this crevasse or crevice. Pick your poison. Not with a big dramatic entrance, mind you. Not with trumpets blaring or fireworks popping. But with a quiet, steady resolve that says, all right, I'll take it from here. No fuss, no muss. Just results. Let me paint you a picture. I've lived this cycle, right? More times than I care to admit. It's practically a rite of passage, a badge of honor for anyone who's ever dared to dream big. Let's call it 2019, this picture. Pre-pandemic chaos. I got it in my head. Well, this is the picture, right? This is not me. I never had this picture. But it's an example. You get it in your head that you're going to run a half marathon. So 13.1 miles of pure pavement pounding, sweat soaked glory. You're all in. Went out, bought the sleekest running shoes I could afford, or you could afford, right? Shiny black with those fancy gel soles that promise to make you feel like you're floating on clouds. Downloaded the training app with a chirpy voice telling me, or telling everybody, that when you when to run, when to rest, and it told everyone who'd listen. And you actually, this picture, right? You told everybody who would listen, right, about this. The buddies over beers, your mom over Sunday dinner, even a barista that had coffee, right? Who probably really didn't care. I have a feeling that thing's... All right. Wow, it didn't come after me. I am shocked. I'm in awe. So yeah, you were doing this, right? You said to the universe, "Watch me, I'm crushing it." That's the first week. Absolute magic. Out there at dawn, the air is crisp, cool. The sun's just peeking over the horizon like a golden promise. The playlist is pumping. Maybe "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses on repeat. Axl Rose's wail pushing you forward. Right? You feel like you could do it forever. Bounding along, grinning like an idiot, sweating, beating. You see sweat beating on your forehead, thinking, this is it. I'm unstoppable. I'm a machine. Basically, Usain Bolt with not as much physical aptitude. That's motivation doing its thing. Pure adrenaline, pure joy, pure rocket fuel. Lighting up every inch of your soul. But then, life happens. It always does, doesn't it? It always does. It's like the universe has a knack for throwing curveballs just when you're swinging for the fences, testing your mettle. Work gets hectic, deadlines piling up, and piling up. Traffic jams on the interstate, emails flooding in faster than you can hit delete. The weather turns into soggy gray mess. Rain pelting down like it's auditioning for Noah's flood. Trying to navigate. And then suddenly, running feels less triumphant and more like punishment. It's from some cosmic gym teacher with a vendetta. The buzz fades slowly at first and then all at once. You're lying in your bed, staring at the ceiling, the alarm blaring at 6 a.m., like an angry drill sergeant thinking, do I really need this today? Can't I just skip it? Who's gonna know? Me and the squirrels outside the window? The initial fire. That initial fire. Oh. Any opportunity to take a all right. I'm taking my notes because I wrote all this down because I didn't want to forget it. I wanted to make it sound good, but obviously not so much. So your big your big desire, your big New Year's resolution becomes a smoldering ember at best, barely flickering, right? Threatening to wink out entirely. So you think to yourself, what got me out there? What kept me lacing up those shoes and hitting the pavement? It wasn't some motivational poster with the sunrise and a cheesy quote like, believe in yourself. It was discipline. I'd set a rule for myself. Right? You set a rule. That rule was, go run. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. No shoes on, no excuses. No negotiating with the lazy gremlin in my head. Rain pouring down like a monsoon, turning the streets into rivers. Doesn't matter. Grab the poncho, splash through the puddles like a kid in galoshes. Legs aching like they have been hauling rocks up the brick hill, like hauling bricks up to the hill at night. Doesn't matter. You're out there. Tough? Going anyway. I'm going anyway, right? That's what you're thinking. Hobbling if you have to, cursing under the breath, but moving. You showed up. Step by painful step. Week by grueling week. Until one glorious day, 9 months later, let's say it's September 2019 now, you cross the finish line, 13.1 miles in the books. Lungs breathing like you swallowed a campfire. Heart pounding like a war drum. A grin that that you can't wipe off your face even if you tried. When you hit that tape, it wasn't motivation waving the flag with pom-poms. It was discipline. Quiet, unshakable, relentless. The unsung hero that carried you over the line with every part of you wanting to quit. So why does this matter today? Well, we're swimming in motivation. Self-help books line the shelves. Instagrams drowning in quotes like, you got this, in curly fonts. YouTube gurus shout, quote, seize the day, from their pristine studios, of course. But it's discipline. That's the real game changer. And the ancients knew it long before we did. Zeno of Citium, the guy who kicked off the Stoicism around 300 BC after surviving a shipwreck. Talk about a bad day, huh? I can take a wrong turn. Okay. He said, quote, the wise man is not subject to any passion which is without reason. It's about controlling the chaos inside, not riding the wild waves of feeling. And that's what we're unpacking today. How these two forces, motivation, the flashy, loud starter that gets you out the gate, and discipline, the steady, dependable finisher that keeps you running. It plays out across history in our brains and in our everyday lives, right? Going back to ancient Greece and Rome, where Stoic philosophers turned discipline into philosophy of freedom that's still echoing through the ages. We zip over to feudal Japan, where samurai made it a matter of honor and survival, life or death, stakes that made your hair stand on end. We'll hit the Industrial Revolution, where factory bells rewrote how we work and live, turning chaos into clock and zoom right into the 21st century, where CEOs and enterprisers and entrepreneurs swear by its like the secret sauce to billions. Well, we'll dig into the science. Why habits stick around when willpower takes a nap. And we'll look at some real life examples, from chasing personal dreams to leading teams, to, believe it or not, grinding away in video games, like the digital world warrior, like I am today. I'm grinding today. That's what I'm calling it. We'll face the dark side too. Basically, when rituals go wrong and turn toxic, leaving scars instead of strengths. So let's kick this off with a big question that's going to carry us through. What's the difference between motivation and discipline? And I forgot to capture the chat. Let everybody know I'm here. And we'll put this in the chat as well. This first question, because that's what we're answering today. What's the difference between motivation and discipline, and why does it matter? It matters more than you think, right? More than all those shiny self-help books may have you believe. Stick with me. We're in for a ride. And it's going to be one heck of a story, packed with lessons from the past, insights from today, and maybe a few laughs along the way. And perhaps some combat, given the where we are as far as the game is concerned. Looks like I'm navigating halfway decently while I'm reading my notes. So let's go with section 1. So we're going to define discipline and motivation. Let's roll up our sleeves, dive into the meat of this thing. Defining these two terms, because if we're going to spend 2 hours unpacking them, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. No fuzzy edges or vague guesses. Motivation and discipline. They get tossed around like confetti at a New Year's bash. However, they're not twins. Not even close. Not even close cousins. They're more like distant relatives, with wildly different personalities. One's the life of the party, the other's the steady hand cleaning up, the one that's cleaning up afterward. And understanding that gap is the first step into figuring out how they shape our lives. From the big wins that make you puff out your, stand up straight, to the quiet struggles that test our souls. Really don't want to be space here, but that's all right. I think I'm going fast. Okay. I gotta remember this. All right. Let's see. So let's go with the first one. What's motivation? At its core, it's the feeling you get when you're fired up to do something. It's the why behind your actions. The emotional rocket fuel that blasts you off the starting line like a drag racer peeling out at the green light, at the sight of the green light. Maybe you want to drop a few pounds, right? Because you've got a big event on the horizon, a wedding where your best man and you want to rock a tux, right? Or a high school reunion where you'd rather not be. What happened to him? Or just a beach trip where you'd like to ditch oversized t-shirts, right? For once. Or maybe you're just itching to launch a side hustle. Like a little Etsy shop selling handmade candles. A podcast like this one where you're rambling the mic for hours. Whatever it is. Because you're tired of the 9 to 5 grind. The fluorescent lights, the same stale coffee in the break room. You want to call the shots. You want to be your own boss. You want to chase the dream that's been simmering on the back. It's a rush, that excitement that can't wait to get started, right? That energy hits you like a bolt of lightning out of a clear blue sky, electrifying. There we go. Had to turn around there. These combats aren't that pressing, so I'll pause for them because I don't want to get hit every few seconds. But the folks at the Omni Group nailed it. They called it, quote, the general desire or willingness to do something. That's fair. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, you want to put it in the shortest terms possible. That's exactly what it is. All right. So I got to move my notes a little bit. So every once in a while, that's what the pause is for. Again, it's the juice that gets you out of the gate, the spark that lights the fuse to sends you sprinting toward whatever, or that whatever shiny goal is that caught your eye, whether it's a marathon medal or a bank account with an extra zero. Or think about it like this. Motivation is that moment when you see an ad for a marathon. Runners crossing the finish line, medals gleaming under the sun, sweat and triumph written all over their faces. And you think, yeah, I could totally do that. It's the thrill of imagining yourself, legs pumping, crowd roaring, the triumphant roar bubbling up in your chest, like a volcano about to blow. It's visceral, right? It gets your heart pumping like a bass drum. Your palms are sweaty enough to slip off a steering wheel. Your mind's racing about with the what ifs and why nots. I've felt it a million times. Heck, that's why I'm here talking right now. A few years back, I was sitting, I was sitting with my sister and we talked about podcasts. And what we thought we could do to help humanity outside our little bubble of influence, our little sphere of influence, right? I mean, how do you get as famous as and as influential as Joe Rogan's or Tim Ferriss? It hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I've got stories, I've got a voice, I could do this, right? I can make, I can get people interested, right? Hopefully. That's the whole point. That was motivation. right? How can I help change society? Why do people look at these subjects that I'm going over in the last, 12 episodes as taboo, or they seem forgotten? Well, let's remind people. That's my thought, right? That was my motivation. All right, let's see. So what did I do? Well, I had a decent mic, so I was like, all right, let's do it. Right? I have AI now. I can do research easier. I can put it together, form coherent thoughts, maybe organize it with AI a little bit more for standard or better understanding for the audience. Right? Get the, and just dive in. My first episode was horrible, and that's okay. And this channel is one that celebrates failure. Without failure, I can't move forward. And failure shouldn't stop the motivation. And it certainly can't stop discipline. Right? So, after that motivation, what happens? Well, discipline happens. I'm at episode 112. Yeah, if you look in my past, it's kind of a weird sequential mess in my history of videos. But that's where discipline stepped in, because motivation's got a shelf life shorter than a carton of milk left out in the sun, guaranteed. It's sweet until it's sours. Ah, crap. That's a 34. Alright. Let's get this over with. I do have a buckler, and it's a really good one. It was a good time to test out my sword anyway. He's got me. I knew it. There we go. Gotta get back into the sequence of things. Pro tip, you're just stepping back a little bit, letting them attack, and then you go in for the attack. There we go. Honestly, right now, it's not giving me anything worthwhile to defeat them, but, still, the strongest buckler in the game is a little tiny thing. It's they call it a shield. It's a freaking buckler. Anyway. So, discipline isn't about feelings, though, right? It's about action, specifically action when feelings aren't there to cheer you on. Like a pep squad would be, right? Or with pep squad with pom poms. Woo, go! No, it's not that. Discipline isn't that. It's the ability to control yourself. To say I'm doing this. Period. End of story. Even when every fiber of your being is screaming, nah, let's hit the snooze and call it a day, or maybe binge that new show everyone's talking about. It defines. Encyclopedia.com actually. Don't want to fight a bear, although I can take a bear. I don't want to fight a bear. And so encyclopedia.com defines it as the ability to control one's impulses, discipline, which is a solid foundation. But Orion philosophy takes it a little deeper and richer to it. It says, it's acting in alignment with your values and goals, no matter how you feel, no matter if you're riding high or dragging low. Motivation might get you into the gym on a perfect spring day when you're bursting with energy and the sun's painting the world in a golden, golden green. You've got a playlist that you could wake the dead, but discipline is what drags you there on a freezing winter morning when you're tired, grumpy, and the wind's howling like a pack of wolves, right? And then there's a warm blanket whispering sweet nothings in your ear like a siren, luring you back to bed. So let's rewind the clock. Let's take the early 2000s. Flip phones that felt cutting edge, baggy jeans that looked pretty cool back then, but mortify me now. Dorm rooms, right, if you're at college, smelled like stale pizza, cheap beer, and desperation. And maybe you were the undisputed king of the last minute study, Randy. Picture that. Bleary-eyed, hunch over, rickety desk under flickering fluorescent lights surrounded by textbooks that you've barely cracked all semester. You get a bad grade, say a C on a biology quiz. Those mitochondria mocking you with their smug evil powerhouses. And bam, motivation would hit you like a freight train, barreling down the straps. You'd go to the library, storm it, like the beaches of Normandy, armed with a thermos of coffee that more than likely tasted like burnt regret and desperation than coffee, a stack of highlighters in every color, yellow, pink, you name it, whatever they had. And a fierce, almost feral determination to turn it all around before the next test. Study for hours, 4, 5, 6, fueled by caffeine and panic. Flipping through notes, you'd scribble. You'd scribbled in class about half asleep, memorizing formulas like the Krebs cycle or Punnett squares, feeling like Einstein reincarnated with a buzz that can power a small city. Let me take a sip. Then you'd walk out of there at midnight, streetlights buzzing overhead, the campus quiet except for the hum of your own adrenaline, thinking, I got this, I'm unstoppable. I'm gonna ace this thing. And that's when motivation is doing its job. Lighting a fire under you, pushing you to act, making you feel like you can conquer the academic world with a number 2 pencil and a prayer. Then you'd wake up and the spark would be gone, snuffed out like a candle in a windstorm. And you probably would think, well, I did a ton yesterday. Hours of hardcore studying. I'll get back to it soon. Let me take a look at my map. I got a old forest is down here. I'll make a left and swim across here. I really want to get so let's go straight. I want to go 10, 11. Okay. Watch out for bear. Let me take a respite from the story for a moment. Not being able to see that far, which I love about the game, by the way. I don't know why my food seems really not exactly what it should be doing. Early access, I suppose. All right. Let's see. So soon turned out to be tomorrow, then the next week, then the next month. Before you know it, you're back to procrastinating, flipping through textbooks half-heartedly, doodling stick figures, battles in the margins. Of course, the sword guy versus the dragon, obviously. watching reruns of Friends on TV. On a tiny TV with bunny ears that barely work back in the day. Anything but hitting the books like you swore you would do. Yeah. It was a cycle, predictable loop. I think everybody can really sync with that, right? Motivation would flare up like a Roman candle, though. Bright, dazzling, loud. You'd ride it for a day or two, right? Maybe even a glorious 3 if you were lucky. Maybe even 4, depending if it was early in the week. You didn't have to worry about the weekend, you know, plans with your friends and all. And then the crash when it burned, right? Leaving you stranded out with a pile of notes, a shrinking GPA, and the vague sense of, quote, I'll figure it out later. Later never came, not until the next panic attack anyway. This might not be good. Where the heck am I? Yeah, I'm still good. That was an interesting way to go. All right. So, it took you a while, right? But the senior year, you probably got a little wiser. Or desperate, depending on how you want to spin it. I'm going to say wiser, right? Desperation's a heck of a motivator when your back's against the wall. What the heck is that sound? Interesting. I've never encountered that sound before. That's because that's a bear. Now, I am trying to get to that. Is that a one-handed or two-handed spear? Really don't want to fight a bear. I can. Am I not where I need to be? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm taking a little respite from our story because I've got to figure out where I'm going here. This is where it gets really dangerous. Alright, maybe I go up this way? And I do not like having to go up this way. All right, maybe. I have to kind of be on my game here because these guys are invisible. I'll get back to the story here in a second. I can hear one of them. Where are you, man? There you are. He's right there. See the will-o-wisps. Ah, here we go. There we go. Oh, before I do this, I forgot. There we go. Okay. So basically, you're going through this spiral, right? You're going down this spiral. You're staring down finals that you could make or break your shot at graduating, right? Something halfway decent on your transcript, or you know, or something you can wave your parents and say, "Hey, see, tuition wasn't for nothing." You know you can't keep relying on those random bursts like some academic lottery, hoping that the jackpot before the clock ran out, right? So what do? Well, you negotiate with yourself. You make a pact with yourself. You say in mental stone every night at 7 to 9 p.m., you're at your desk, books are open, no excuses, no negotiations, no I'll do it later when I feel like it. It didn't matter whether it was wiped out from a day of lectures or some part-time gig bussing tables at a greasy diner. It didn't matter. If you could hear your roommates down the hall throwing a rager with bad techno blaring in the through the thin walls, you showed up, you planted your butt in the chair, and you got to work. Of course, the first week was brutal, right? Let me go to the next node. That's just a will-o-wisp. Nasty if they actually attacked you. They're like a level 90. There's nothing up this way, so I can just sprint. I think the nodes are over here. There we go. So the first week was probably brutal, right? Like really brutal. You'd sit there staring at the pages. My God. Like trying to hit that fox. So, you stare at your pages, you go into all this mind wandering at anything else. You're sitting there making stuff up like, pizza, what's happening on TV, whether you're gonna figure out how to talk to someone you like in one of your classes. You doodle in the margins, like stick figures, maybe a spaceship, at the time, right? Anything. And then you're counting down the actual time that you've allotted instead of using it, right? You're counting it down. You think it's torture. And then why am I doing this to myself? Right? You could be doing anything better. By the second week, it probably gets a little easier. You crack open a book, sip some lukewarm coffee, start underlining stuff that actually made sense. And then the third week, you were in a groove. You were making flashcards with terms. You were quizzing yourself, watching those little puzzle pieces come together, like a Lego set finally coming and taking shape. By the fourth week, you were hooked. You sit down, flip to where you've left off, dive in, no hesitation, no whining. By the time finals rolled around, December, snow piling up outside, stress piling up inside, were you prepared? You weren't just prepared. You were confident, walking into those exam rooms like you owned the joint, pencil sharpened, brain locked, and loaded. You aced them, straight A's across the board. Report card that you could frame, not because it was some genius who cracked the code overnight, but because discipline had built the habit that carried you through the motivation when motivation was off sipping eggnog somewhere. It's feudal. Motivation got you into the library that first night, lit the match, but the discipline stoked the fire, kept the fire burning, steady, got you to the finish line when every other part of you wanted to bail. So let's bring this to your home life, because it's not just a story. It's ours. It's universal. All right, let me see where the next note is. Like I said, I have to be very careful here. Yeah, there's another. I don't have to be too careful, but I just don't want to waste my time fighting things that I don't need to fight. That's basically what I'm trying to say. There's the next one. They turn like they're enemies, the will-o'-wisp, but they're not. At first I ran from them. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, did you ever started a diet because you saw a photo of yourself at a summer barbecue, or maybe you were holding a burger, the shirt a little tight around the middle, and thought, no, that's not me. That's not what I want to look like. That's motivation. It kicks us in the pants. It's a wake-up call, right? And it sends you straight to the grocery store, loading your cart with like kale and Kia and chia seeds, and costs you more than your next car payment. All this Instagram influencers swear by, right? You're doing all this stuff. You're doing salads and smoothies for a week, maybe 2 if you're really committed, and feeling like you're feeling like a health guru, posting pics of green concoctions online and hashtags like hashtag clean living and hashtag new me, basking in the likes. Then life happens. You're stressed from a big project at work. You're tired from late nights. You pass a pizza joint on the way home. And that smell hits you like a warm, cheesy hug, pulling you like a tractor beam. Motivation's gone, vanished like the ghost in the night. And you're thinking, one slice won't hurt, right? I've been good. I'll get back on track tomorrow. Discipline is what steps in, plants its feet, and says, nope, we're sticking to the plan. Chicken and veggies tonight, no negotiations, even when your stomach's growling for something greasy and your brain's begging for a cheat day. Like a kid whining for candy. It's not loud. It's not sexy. It's just no one's making inspirational montages about streaming broccoli and in a dented pan under a flickering kitchen light. But it's the engine that keeps you chugging toward that goal, inch by inch, meal by meal, day by unglamorous day. All right, let's see where I'm going next. I'm making a left. Making a left is going to be difficult. Especially since I have all this stuff. I don't want any of these. Here we go. I'm looking for these ghost-like things. They're the hardest thing to see in here. Is that a node over there? It might be. Let's see if I have a clear line of sight to it. We do. There's something. Just straight, it might be a better shot. Let's see if I can go straight though. Remember, this is the old forest, so you're going to encounter some nasties if you're not careful. Where are we? I want to go this way, huh? Now, there's one. God, you can barely see these guys. I'm going to take a respite from the schedule here. Oh, I know where I am. Yeah, it's worth it up there, but there's a lot of battles I'd have to take. Let's go down this way. Make sure I don't run into anything. Welcome to the old forest, where if you don't pay attention, you're pretty much screwed. What is that distance? I see a light, and it's kind of cool. Oh, that might be a something nasty. All right, so something over there. There's something over there. Oh, morals. I'm gonna take some morals. And why? Because they make their stew. And I don't have a map yet, so let's map them. I see the... It's one, I think. Is it one? There's one over there, two. There's two over there. One down there. There's something over there. Man. I really want to get past all this. I do want to get past it. How do I get past this? Sure, nothing's gonna hit me from the left. There's something there. All right, that's I got past a lot of them. All right, so let's just like say discipline's the long-term part. It's not always thrilling. There's no, romantic gestures, no swoony movie moments with swelling violins. But it's there through the storms. It keeps things steady, reliable, as the sunrise after a long night. Right? Lots of nodes around here, but I don't know. I have to kind of keep going past it. Party might be able to take that, but not me. Not just me, I should say. I'll be able to get this one. I won't be able to get the next one. Let me stay on my guard. We'll continue our conversation about motivation and discipline here in a moment. If I can go this way. I hear the bear. Make sure I don't run into one of these ghosts. Because I can't see them through the trees. Can't take that. Oh, there's some right there. This is a long run here. Alright. This is the way you play the old forest when you're here alone, is you have to actually understand what's around you and what can attack you at any given moment. So here I'm gonna start heading this way. I don't run into anything unsavory. Not see like that one. That's a very unsavory kind of thing. Daytime's happening, so that's nice. Still won't be able to see half of the things because they're almost invisible. I ran into one. He's still coming after me, huh? That was worth it. I need more stamina quickly. I'll see what happens here. I gotta carry that back too. I can't not carry that back. That was a good drop. I think after this node I can go back. Oh, lard? What the heck am I carrying lard around? Yeah, they hit hard. They really hit hard. There we go. Let's see what we got. Where am I? I am here. If I go this way, maybe? Let's see how tough it is. So looking around, gotta concentrate. Before I can't concentrate on the material because those fights are a lot. If you noticed, I barely won that. It wasn't the best. Once you lose stamina, you can actually get hit, and it's a they stun you, like they knock you silly essentially, and it'll bode very unfavorably for you because you have to regain your stamina in order to block. So modern thinkers are back in what I'm telling you up about motivation and discipline, right? So let's look at Jeff Bezos, the Amazon Titan, right? He talks about disciplined risk taking. So what does he mean by that? Well, he's saying if you're going to take a big risk, make sure it's a risk worth taking. It's not just jumping in blind. It's planning, committing, and sticking it through the grind. Angela Duckworth, with her grit research, says effort counts twice. Well, what does that mean? Well, talent's nice, but discipline doubles it. Ancient wisdom got our back too. Seneca, a stoic bigwig who dodged Nero's tantrums, wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Discipline's what gets you past the fear, the excuses, the quote, I'll do it tomorrow trap. So that's the rundown on motivations, the spark that gets you going, lights the match, makes you feel like a superhero for a hot second. Discipline's the fuel that keeps you running when the spark's gone, long gone. The steady flame doesn't flicker. And history, it's packed with folks who figured this out way before we did. Let's take a trip back through time and see how they played the game, starting with some toga-wearing philosophers in ancient Greece and Rome who turned discipline into a way of life, a path to freedom that's still lighting the way today. After we take a respite on the game again, and I think I'm pretty much going back, because everything else is not as needed. So let's go back home. All right. So, discipline through the ages. So let's fire up this time machine, right? We're already going the Wayback Machine. We're going to take a long, winding, epic trip through history because we're going to talk about discipline versus motivation. And we've got to see how the heavy lifters of the past played this game. They learned on steady effort, over fleeting sparks to build lives, societies, even empires that still echo today. Let me grab some fuels. Okay. So around 300 BC, in ancient Greece, there was a group called the Stoics. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to, again, take a little break from the script, because everybody wants to, wow, that was quite weird. Let's beat up some people. Let's see how reckless I can be. That can be pretty reckless. That's not what I wanted. I wanted that. And 6. That's what I wanted. Really? I'm really just looking for their gold. I don't care about them so much. They're only doing 9 to me, so I don't... Just looking for their gold. Sorry, guys. You gotta die for your gold. This is... You don't understand how much easier this is. I'm being reckless right now. I would never do this in my leather armor. And I'm doing a ton of damage with the sword. I'm only looking for gold, honestly. Don't care about anything else. One more thing, and we'll go back to our conversation about the ancients. This is really good stuff. I hope you really can understand the value. I know you can understand the value. What am I talking about? The application is what I'm really offering. What I hope you can. There we go. Eight. Took 8. Really? What am I doing? Gotta eat. Not a lot of money in that, but enough. All right. So the Stoics were actually laying down some really serious wisdom about how to live a good life in the world that's messy, unpredictable, and downright brutal back then, right? And I wouldn't say it's too far removed today to say brutal, but I wouldn't say brutal in the era terms. Meaning brutal back then was just a whole different meaning. Anyway, these weren't just philosophers twiddling their thumbs, right? In the Agoria, sipping watered down wine and debating for sport. They were practical thinkers, men like Zeno of Citium. Ooh. I thought maybe. That was like a blind shot. That's all right. It's still up. Doesn't look like many people are on tonight. Usually, these are not available to me. Okay. So these were practical thinkers. So, like later in the era, you had Seneca, Atticus, Chrysippus, right, and Marcus Aurelius. Many of you might have recognized some of these names, not all. I highly advise you to go take a look at these. They're very, very well documented thinkers, right? So they took to the streets, the Senate, and the battlefields. They weren't about chasing fleeting pleasures or waiting for inspiration to strike some divine lightning. They saw discipline as the key to freedom, the anchor in life's storms. And they built whole philosophy around it. And that's still ringing true over 2 millennia later. Let's see if I can kill any more boar. Nope. Come on. There we go. Where is he? I'm hunting. Oh, wait. There he is. Crap. I doubt that I'll get him, but... There we go. Home Valley, I can take a lot more chances, especially when I'm sitting here in full plate doing absolutely tons of damage to these creatures. There we go. He got up. Undead gore. Really? Okay. That was annoying. Just for skinning. This is all that is for. Okay. So let's start with Zeno of Citium. After I skin some more things. Okay, so this guy founded Stoicism after a shipwreck around 300 BC that could have broken lesser men. Picture this, he's a merchant sailing the Mediterranean with a cargo of purple dye. At the time, very pricey stuff. When storms hit, sinks his ship, he washes up in Athens with nothing but soaked clothes on his back. Instead of curling up in despair, he wanders into a bookstore. Imagine a dusty stall with scrolls piled up high, reads about Socrates, and thinks, this is it. This is how you live when the world falls apart. He starts teaching on a painted porch. The Stoa Polykali, I think it's called, hence Stoicism. His big idea living is living in accordance with nature, which means reason over passion, discipline over chaos. He says the wise man is not subject to any passion, which is without reason. It's about controlling the wild horses inside you, not letting the emotions gallop off with the reins. Pretty cool, right? That's the seed. Discipline as the path to life, a life worth living. Fast forward to Seneca, born around 4 BC. In what's now Spain, he's a Roman senator, playwright, advisor to Nero, Emperor Nero. Which is like juggling flaming torches in a room full of dynamite. Is all about daily reflection every night, right? He'd sit down, maybe by candlelight, more than like by candlelight, or maybe oil lamp, right? In a villa buzzing with political intrigue and reviewing his day. And what did he say? What did I do well? That's what he asked himself. What did I do well? Where did I mess up? And how do I fix it tomorrow? Great questions, right? He wrote, we are more often frightened than hurt. And we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Discipline your mind. He's saying, tame those wild fears. And half your battles are won before they even start. Pretty amazing stuff, right? I need to throw most of this out after all, but I'll throw this in here since it's that goes there. Let me sort this stuff real quick. We'll continue on our journey of discipline versus motivation. And let me know in the comments, would you rather me just talk without playing the game? Is it valuable information for you? Or would you rather see the game as I should say, talk and play the game at the same time. Up to you guys. I've been toying around with both because there's a lot of information in these that I really want everybody to be able to improve their own life on. My tools away. Didn't die this time. That's nice. That's really nice, actually. You don't understand how nice that is, guys. That's really. When you go there alone, understand the. It's a whole different aspect of the game. Parties are great. You can get up to 6 people, by the way, and they are well worth it. There we go. I didn't realize I had glass cooking up. I need glass. Probably. That's not good. I saw this hole, right? Was I making this up? There it is. I'm just gonna take as much as I can because I really just want to steal. That's nice. I'm gonna need to cook more coal as well. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave that because I think there's more glass over here. Yeah, that's it. I hate this thing. They really gotta fix that. Okay. Wow. I actually collected enough just for 2. That's actually kind of cool. This is not the one I was looking for. Oh, we have some more. I didn't realize I had that much. That's okay though. That's good. It's good. Alright. I need more glass. Not today though. Today I will put my morals in my area of cooking, change my clothes, and we can finish up the podcast with the I don't use my armor much. I only use it when I go down south. Alright, so we'll need that one. What else do we need? These 2. We need that. I think that's it. So let's put it on. There we go. And then what you do is go to your equipment and take off all the other armor. There we go. And the cape. I always forget the cape. And then I just put everything in here. There we go. Because that's how you dress when you're at home. You don't wear your armor all the time, right? Alright. Let's go up here and I'll show you a little bit about, for those of you who are new, I'll show you the rest of my house. I haven't finished that floor yet. It's going to be like a meeting room area. This is where my personal lodging is, up here. And so let's stand here for a second as we look out into the pristine wilderness. Okay, so we were on Seneca. So the last quote I read was, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." So discipline your mind, he's saying. Tame those wild fears and have your battle. Half of your battles are won before they even start. He also said, begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Don't wait for inspiration. Act now, every day. Build that habit of showing up. And then there's Epictetus. Born a slave around 50 AD, by the way. He owned by a guy in Nero's court. Brutal gig, right? Left him with a crippled leg from all the beatings. He earns his freedom, sets up as a teacher in Greece, and then drops this gem. Quote, "No person is free who cannot command themselves." Imagine him, scarred, limping, standing before a crowd of eager listeners in a simple tunic, stating, quote, "Real freedom isn't doing whatever pops into your head, flitting from whim to whim. It's mastering your impulses, choosing your path based on reason, not chaos of the moment." He also added, quote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Focus on what you control. Let the rest go. Discipline's your shield." And Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor from 161 AD to 180 AD, was the poster boy of Stoicism. He's got this whole empire at his feet. Power, wealth, legions bowing. But every morning, he's wrestling with the same groggy temptation we all face. The urge to stay in bed, pull the covers up, let the world wait. He'd write in Meditations, quote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do are born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is it what I was created for, to huddle under the blankets and keep warm?" It's not a guy waiting for a peppy sunrise or motivational scroll. He's disciplining his mind, talking to himself into action, no matter how cozy those imperial sheets feel under a chilly Roman dawn, right? So add Chrysippus, the third head of the Stoic school, around 279 to 206 BC, who beefed up the logic side. He said, quote, "The wise man is who he has learned to live as if he were to die tomorrow. Disciplines about daily effort, not putting off life for some perfect moment that never comes." Picture Marcus Day, up at dawn, maybe cold in a tent on a Germanic frontier, not some plush palace with marble floors. Attendants bustle with reports, taxes need collecting, barbarians at the gates. plagues creeping in, but he's got a stylus and a scroll, and he's writing, quote, "You have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." I have to move the cursor every once in a while. Give me a second. Where are we? We're heading to the final stretch, but I wanted to really put this foundation in. These everyday disciplines and motivation is based off of what the ancients already knew. We can say it in different words, we can put it in different ways, but how many sayings that we don't need to give them the attribute to the saying, but how many people remember it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters? That was Epicus. I mean, Seneca, dodging Nero's mood, scribbled, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." Prep's the discipline part, right? That's Stoicism, which is consistent action over emotional roller coasters. It's a foundational idea that success and goodness come from showing up, not hoping for a muse to whisper sweet nothings in your ear. Now let's hop across the globe. Let's jump forward a few centuries to feudal Japan, roughly the 12th to 19th centuries, where samurai living in discipline was like their oxygen. It was their heartbeat, their very soul. Their code, Bushido, the way of the warrior, roughly translated, was built on loyalty, courage, and self-control, a framework that turns boys into legends, girls into legends, right? These weren't just tough guys swinging sharp swords. They were trained from childhood in a dizzying array of skills. Kenjutsu, which was sword fighting. Taijutsu, which was archery. Bajutsu, which is horseback riding. They had tea ceremonies that demanded precision down to the flick of a wrist. Calligraphy that turned ink into art. Meditation that stilled the mind like a pond after a storm. It was all about ritual, habit, making it second nature. They called it seishin, teke, koyo, which koyoyo. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. My Japanese is rusty. Which is spiritual discipline, building mental toughness to face anything, war, death, dishonor, without flinching, without a second thought. Take Miyamoto Musashi, born 1584, arguably the greatest samurai who ever lived. Legend says he fought over 60 duels, swords flashing, blood spilling and splashing, never lost once. A record that would make any warrior's jaw drop. Picture him at dawn, 20 years old, quiet village surrounded by rice paddies. Up before the sun, sharpening his katana. 2 swords for his famous dual-wielding style that baffled opponents. He's running through kata, those choreographed moves, slash, parry, thrust, hundreds of times. Feet planted in the dirt, hands bleeding from the grip, muscles aching like they were screaming for mercy. But he doesn't stop. He doesn't even pause. Then he's meditating, sitting cross-legged under a cherry tree, clearing his mind, breathing slowly and steady, focusing on nothing but the now. Later, he's practicing archery, drawing a heavy bow until his shoulders scream, arrows thudding into straw targets, or calligraphy, brush steady as a rock, ink flowing like a river over rice paper. He wrote the Book of 5 Rings. Quote, "Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. Discipline over emotion, etched in blood, sweat, and ink. A mantra mantra for life of steel. Then there's Yagua, Yagua, sorry, Munonori, 17th century swordmaster, advisor to shoguns. A legend in his own right, he taught, quote, the way of the warrior is to be calm and collected in the face of danger, unquote. It's about staying steady, not letting fear or rage take the wheel. A lesson he drilled into his students with relentless practice. Imagine a young samurai 15 under Yaguyu's stern eye. Up at 4 a.m., stars still twinkling in the cold air enough to see his breath. He's running his sword drills / parry thrusts hundreds of times, sweat dripping onto the dojo floor and the master park. Quote, again, straighter, your stance is sloppy, unquote. Then he's off to the archery range, drawing a bow until his fingers blister and bleed, arrows wobbling at first, then hitting the mark. Afternoon, it's tea ceremony. Slow, deliberate, every pour a matcha, perfect. Every gesture a dance. Or calligraphy, brush steady, ink flowing in the kanji that tells tales of honor. It's not motivation driving it. Nobody's inspired every freezing morning at 4 a.m. It's ritual, habit, discipline baked into his bones. If he fails, his lord loses a battle, botches a mission, or dishonors himself. It's seppuku time. Kneeling on a mat, dressed in a white robe symbolizing purity, a short blade, a wakizashi, in hand, slicing his stomach open from left to right in a deliberate, agonizing act, while a second stands with a katana behind to behead him if he falters. Take responsibility and preserve his name, his family's honor. Tokugawa Ieyasu, who unified Japan in 1603 after decades of war, lived this too. He said, quote, patience is the foundation of eternal peace, unquote. Discipline built his shogunate, turned a fractured land into a nation. That legacy lingers into lingers. Think of sushi chef of today, slicing fish with surgical precision, hands moving like they were guided by muscle memory, or a train pulling into Tokyo Station at 8:02 a.m. Not a second later. It's not spontaneous genius. It's diligent practice, generation after generation. A culture where steady effort trumps fleeting brilliance every time. Let's leap forward to the 18th century, 19th centuries. The Industrial Revolution, where discipline got a new gig, keeping the modern world spinning like a well-oiled machine. Before this, life was agrarian. Farmers worked in the sun. When the sun rose, they rested when they felt like it. They followed nature's lazy meaning, meandering rhythm, planting in spring, harvesting in fall, napping in the shade when the heat got too thick. Then factories rise, big smoky beast belching coal dust into the sky, and suddenly bells dictating your 6 a.m. start sharp date, noon break, 30 minutes, if you're lucky. 6 p.m. finish, maybe later if the foreman's in the mood. Historians call it time discipline, quote unquote time discipline. And it was a shock to the system. A seismic shift that turned freewheeling peasants into clock-punching cogs. E.P. Thompson, in his groundbreaking, quote, time, work discipline, and industrial capitalism, unquote, wrote, quote, the first generation of factory workers were taught by their masters, the importance of time, unquote. And they hated it. They fought it tooth and nail. They skipped the Mondays and called it Saint Mondays, nursing hangovers from Sunday's ale, or rolled in late, stumbled through the factory. right? The factory gates with blurry eyes, driving owners up the wall, by the way, because of their quote undisciplined ways, unquote. One ironworks boss in the 1790s, some guy with a powdered wig and a permanent scowl, penned a rule book thicker than a Bible. Quote, be here at 5:30 a.m. or you're out. No excuses, no tardiness. Or it's the poorhouse for you. Because his group attacked the clock's relentless march. The Luddites took it further, bands of workers smashing looms and spinning jennies with hammers and torches, protesting this new tyranny of the time that chained them to machines, their chants echoing through the English Midlands, quote, down with the clocks, unquote. But they adapted. They had to, because survival meant jobs, and jobs meant bowing to the bell. The Protestant work ethic fueled it. Max Weber later said it was tied hard work to moral duty and religious spin that sparked capitalism's engine. Charles Dickens, in Hard Times, painted it grim. His character, Brad Grind, barking, quote, facts alone are wanted in life, unquote. A world of grind over joy, where discipline turned men into numbers, outputting the gospel. Picture Manchester in 1830s, smokestacks belching black clouds into a gray sky, machines clanking with metal heartbeats that never stop. You look at John, age 25, weaves cotton on the loom. Yesterday he drank too much ale at the pub. His head's pounding like a blacksmith's hammer. He'd rather be anywhere else. Curled up with a fire with a mug of something warm. But the bell rings at 6 a.m. Clang, 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 clang. Sharp as a whip. And he's there. Hands move. Thread in. Shuttle across. Over and over. 12 hours. Because no work means no shillings. And no shillings means no wife. Means his wife and kids eat gruel tonight instead of bread. Across town, factory owners pacing, stopwatch in hand, checking clocks, barking orders. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because output's tied to time, time's tied to profit, profit's tied to survival in this. That's discipline scaling up from one guy to a whole system, turning chaos into clock, agrarian drift into industrial precision. So let's talk about why habits beat motivation. Well, now let's get a little nerdy, really nerdy, because we're going to figure out why discipline keeps stealing the spotlight from motivation. We need to dive into the science, the psychology of the neuroscience that's got the receipts on why habits outlast hype every single time. This isn't just fluffy self-help talk. This is the stuff that's been poked, prodded, and studied in labs under microscopes and through brain scans. It's not going to, and it's going to blow your mind. Maybe even rewire how you tackle your goals. From the mundane to the monumental, we're starting with willpower, because when motivation's off, sipping cocktails on the beach somewhere, willpower's the muscle that's supposed to step in and save the day. Psychologists define it as your ability to resist short-term temptations for long-term gains. Like saying no to that warm, gooey chocolate chip cupcake fresh from the oven when you're trying to drop 10 pounds so you can strut your stuff at the pool without covering up, right? It's your mental biceps, your grit in the clutch. Let's push through when you'd rather flop. It lets you push through when you'd rather flop on the couch with a bag of potato chips and call it a night. But here's the catch. It's big. Willpower is not infinite. It's got a battery, and battery drains faster than a cheap smartphone on a road trip. Ever heard of the ego depletion? Back in 1998, Roy Baumeister and his team ran a classic study that's still making waves. Picture this. They bring folks into a room, set out a plate of fresh baked cookies, the smell wafting everywhere like a siren song, and a bowl of radishes, those sad, crunchy little roots nobody gets excited about. One group gets to eat the cookies, lucky them, while the other has to resist, munching radishes instead, probably glaring at the cookie folks with pure envy. Then they give both groups a tough puzzle to solve, something tricky, like an unsolvable anagram, just to mess with them. The radish eaters, they give up way faster, sometimes in minutes, while the cookie crew keeps plugging away. Why? Their willpower was tapped out from resisting those cookies. It's like they spent all their mental coins in one go, leaving nothing for the next challenge. Baumeister called it ego depletion. Your self-control's a finite resource, and once it's gone, you're toast. Willpower zapped like a dead battery. Let me grab something to drink here. And I'll reset my guy. Maybe get to a different location so you can see it around. Oh, we'll go here. And then we'll go over here, because that's not really my bedroom, everyone. I don't take everybody here, just some people. You're included. There we go. I'm still waiting for that group to get back, because they're ruining my site, but without finishing. Okay. Now, modern sciences tweak this a bit. Some studies say it's not so cut and dry, right? That mindset matters too. Harold Dweck, the growth mindset guru, chimes in, quote, "If you believe willpower's unlimited, it might just be," unquote, suggesting that it's partly how you frame it. But even with that twist, the core holds. Willpower is a muscle, and it gets tired. Pushing it too hard, too long, and it can let you down when you need it the most. Your brain's prefrontal cortex is the MVP here. It's that chunk of gray matter right behind your forehead, the control center, the CEO of your skull, if you will. It's the voice saying, quote, "Don't eat the cookie," unquote. While another part is whining, but I want to look good in that swimsuit, and it's just one. That tug of war wears you out. Neuroscientists call it cognitive load. And this is why, after a day of decisions, work emails, kids' tantrums, picking dinner, you're done. I feel this every day. After a long sloth of work of meetings that won't end, emails piling up like digital snowdrifts, I tell myself, okay, gym time. Let's do this. Out by 6 p.m., my willpower is a puddle on the floor. I'm on the couch, scrolling X, promising tomorrow's day would be a fitness warrior. Spoiler, tomorrow's usually a lie. Motivation's even worse. It's tied to mood, whatever random thing crosses your path. One rainy day, one bad meeting where your boss nitpicks your report, and it's gone. Poof. Like a ghost vanishing in the mist. You're thinking, I'll start next week when the sun's out, and I'm feeling peppy. But next week's just another Monday with clouds and coffee spills. So willpower is shaky. It's a shaky crutch, and motivation is flaky, a flaky friend. What's the hero here? Habits. Those sneaky, steady little routines that save the day when the going gets tough. Wendy Wood, a psychologist who spent decades digging into this, found that 43% of what we do every day is habitual. Stuff like brushing your teeth, driving the same route to work, tying your shoes the same way since you were 5. Done on autopilot while your mind's off somewhere else. maybe planning dinner or replaying an awkward thing you said in the meeting. Why? It's efficiency. Your brain's a lazy genius. It loves saving energy, outsourcing the boring stuff so it can focus on the bigger fish. Whether whether to binge The Witcher or Ted Lasso tonight, right? When you start something new, like jogging every morning, it's willpower and motivation at first. You're dragging yourself out there, psyching yourself up with affirmations. You got this, champ. But maybe a playlist with Eye of the Tiger to feel a little like Rocky Balboa bounding up those steps. But do it daily. Set the alarm at 6 a.m., lace up the shoes, hit the pavement, and it sticks. It sinks in like ink into paper. Philippa Lally's research at the University College of London says it takes about 66 days on average to go semi-automatic. Though it's a wild range, 18 days for something like simple drinking a glass of water at breakfast, up to 254 days for a beast like daily push-ups. Depending on you, the habit, and how much you hate mornings, that's the consistency. Consistency is a secret sauce, actually. Repeat it. Same time, same place, your brain rewires itself like an electrician on a caffeine bender. Turning effort into instinct. Charles Duhigg, in The Power of Habit, breaks down this little habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. Cues the alarm buzzing at 6 a.m., routine's the jog, rewards the endorphin rush. That sweet, smug feeling that you did it. Habits are powerful, but they're also changeable. Once it's in, it's gold. But you can tweak it if you need to. Neurologically, the basal ganglia's the star. It's the deep brain region that handles routines, procedural memory, and all the stuff you would do without thinking. Like riding a bike or typing without looking at the keys. It chunks actions into sequences. Think of driving a new route for the first time. You're laser focused. Left here, right there, don't miss the light. A month later, you're halfway home, daydreaming about tacos or cute barista who smiled at you, and your hands just steer. Your feet hit the pedals. Bam, you're in the driveway, barely remembering the trip. That's habit power. It frees your prefrontal cortex to chill. Sip a metaphorical pina colada while your basal ganglia runs the show like a well-oiled machine. So let's get personal. I've lived this shift, and it's a game changer. Mornings used to be my nemesis, absolute chaos. I'd hit the snooze button 5 or 6 times. My record's probably around 9. Don't judge. I scroll my phone for a little bit. X, Instagram, whatever rabbit hole I fell into, even before I rolled out of bed, bleary-eyed, late for everything. Coffee cold by the time I got to it. Then I said I even rolled out of bed and bleary. Then I set a rule etched in my brain. Alarm at 6:30, straight to the kitchen, brew coffee, right for 30 minutes, no excuses. No 5 more minutes. First week was torture, capital T torture. I'd stumble out, groggy, like a bear waking from hibernation, grumbling. Why am I doing this? I'm not a morning person. I'd brew coffee, half asleep, spilling grounds everywhere, sit at my desk, stare at a blank screen, fingers hovering over the keys like, what am I even supposed to say? I type nonsense. The cat sat on the mat. I hate mornings. Just to fill the time, counting down the seconds until 7 a.m., like a prisoner eyeing parole. The time counted, But I kept going. Same time, same steps every day, no skipping, no whining. Well, less and less whining. Second week, I brew the coffee without thinking, take a sip at the first bit of jolt, start typing, still junk words, but at least typing. Third week, I'd wake before the alarm sounds. Sometimes crazy, right? Sometimes. Coffee ready, words flowing a bit, maybe a sentence that didn't stick. Around 2 months, 2 months in, call it 60 days. Close enough to Lally 66. I noticed something wild. I'd wake up and before I could think, argue, or hit the snooze, I was at the coffee maker pouring beans, grinding them. That world that's now in my mid-morning anthem. Then sitting down, typing away, notes, ideas, rough drafts for the show. It wasn't willpower anymore. It wasn't me fighting myself. It was me wired in, automatic as breathing. Now I got a stack of pages, rough, messy, but real stuff. Script here, story there. It's not because I felt inspired every day at dawn. Half the time I'm still asleep, dreaming of bacon. But because discipline built the habit that carries me when motivation's off, sipping pina colada somewhere with its feet up. Rituals kick this up a notch. They're habits with a soul. Meaning baked into the bones. A little extra magic, dusk that makes them stickier, sweeter. Your brain loves them. Dopamine, that feel-good chemical. Spikes that you do with a habit. Even just seeing a cue, like your running shoes on the door, scuffed and ready. Your favorite pen on the desk, ink stained and trusty. Studies show pre-task rituals. Think athletes bouncing a ball in a certain way become before a free throw, or a musician tapping on their guitar before a riff. Kind of anxiety, boost performance, turn chaos into calm. One experiment at Harvard had folks do a little ritual, tapping a pencil 3 times, counting breaths before a stressful math test. Their stress dropped like a stone. Scores climbed compared to the no ritual crew who was sweating bullets. We talked about this a couple times in our past episodes. EEG research says those the EEGs, the brainwave scans, found that a week of rituals lowers your brain freak out response to mistakes. Less panic, less, oh no, I screwed up. More focus, and more, okay, next try. Like a neural chill pill that keeps you steady under pressure. So we talked about the science. Now what's the discipline in action out in the wild, where it flexes its muscles in real life? We're talking about 3 areas today: personal growth, leadership, and stick with me here, gaming. Yeah, gaming. Because discipline doesn't care if you're chasing a personal dream, running a team, or swinging a virtual sword. It's the secret sauce that turns effort into results. Let's dive into, because these examples are going to show you how steady, unglamorous work beats flashy bursts every time. And we've got some heavy hitters, past and present, to back it up. First, personal growth. Those goals we chase, whether it's getting fit, learning a new skill, just being a little less of a mess day to day. Consistency's kingpin here. Not those wild, motivated sprints that fizzle out. Take writing. Stephen King, Our Religion, churned out more books than I've got socks. Doesn't wait for inspiration to strike some divine lightning bolt. Mount Olympus, he writes every single day, 6 pages, no exceptions. Rain or shine, good mood or bad. He said in interviews, quote, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. And that's discipline in a nutshell. Showing up when the muse is on vacation. Fitness is the same deal. A modest 30-minute workout every morning. Maybe a jog around the block. and some push-ups in your living room beats a sporadic 3-hour gym marathon you only do when you're feeling it. Why? Because the daily grind builds muscle, stamina, results, slow and steady, brick by brick. That's a boom and bust cycle that leaves you sore and swearing off exercise for a week or two. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours. That rule, I think everybody's heard about. Yeah, right here. At the bridge. That tree's right there, but that's okay. So he wrote in Outliers, quote, mastery requires a lot of deliberate practice, unquote. And it's not about talent alone. It's about showing up day after day, putting in the reps. Look at Serena Williams, tennis queen, 23, grand slams, a legend who didn't just wake up smashing aces. She's out there every day since she was a kid, hitting balls on cracked courts in Compton, coached by her dad, Richard, who'd say, quote, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Huh. Powers. Forehand, backhand, serve, sweating, soaking her shirt, legs burning until the muscle memory automatic as breathing. That's not motivation. She wasn't hyped at every dawn. It's discipline, a routine that turned a girl with a racket into a global icon. Admiral William McRaven, in that viral 2014 UT Austin speech, nails it too. Quote, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. Sounds small, almost laughable, really, a bed, but it's discipline. It's a win. A tiny victory that kicks off your day, proves that you can do something right from the jump. I tried it. Skeptical as heck, rumbling as I tugged the sheets straight. First day, it's just a neat bed. Big whoop. But then it's coffee, then work, hitting deadlines, little habits stacking up like dominoes, and then suddenly I'm the chaos gremlin. I'm not the chaos gremlin I used to be. Let me tell you about my own stab at this beyond the half marathon.